Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Clarissa Rodriguez, Chair of the New York State Workers' Compensation Board. Today's meeting is being conducted remotely throughout various locations throughout New York State, as well as being webcast live for members of the public. Board members, please be reminded to state your full name each time you speak. Now, I have the honor of calling the 1018th meeting of the full board to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call attendance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair Foster.
Here.
Board Member Higgins.
Here, and thank you.
Board Member Loban.
Here.
Board Member Williams.
Here.
Board Member Hull.
Here.
Board Member Osley.
Here.
Board Member Crane.
Here.
Board Member Stasko.
Here.
Board Member Tavares.
Here.
Board Member Caginelli.
Here.
Board Member Delon.
Present.
Board Member Delgado.
Here.
Madam Chair, all members are present. We have 13 voting members.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Agenda item 1, approval of the January 24th, 2023 meeting minutes. Board members, you have all received a copy of the January meeting minutes to review. Are there any questions or need for discussion? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Board members, all in favor? May I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Frederick Orsley, and I make a motion to approve the January 24th, 2023 board meeting minutes.
Thank you, Board Member Osley. May I please have a second?
This is Board Member Stephen Crane. I second the motion.
Thank you, Board Member Crane. Is there any opposition to the motion? Hearing none, board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Hearing none, I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Thank you. Agenda item 2, Office of General Counsel's Departmental Report. Acting General Counsel Heather McMaster will now present the statistical and informational report for January.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. In January 2023, the Office of General Counsel, Division of Adjudication held 16,833 hearings, 10,680 cases were resolved at hearing, and 370 reserved decisions were issued. The Office of Adjudication also finalized 1,990 waiver agreements. In the Administrative Review Division, 945 applications were received, 949 were processed. There are currently 4,837 applications pending. In Legal Affairs, 114 full board review applications were received, 127 processed, and there are currently 190 pending. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions or need for discussion? Okay, hearing none, may I please have a motion to accept the Office of General Counsel's departmental report?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Frederick Orsley, and I make a motion to approve the General Counsel departmental report.
Thank you, Board Member Osley. Is there a second?
Board Member Stephen Crane, second the motion.
Thank you, Board Member Crane. Is there any opposition to the motion? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Hearing none, I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Thank you, Board Member. Agenda item 3, license application. Senior Attorney Eugene Martin will now present the licensing applications for the month of January. Welcome, Eugene.
Good morning, Chair Rodriguez, Vice Chair Foster, board members, colleagues. You have before you the recommendation from the assigned board panel regarding licensing application listed in Part 3 of today's agenda. Under Section 53D, Zenith Insurance Company, approval of initial application for a 1-year term, and approval of qualifying officer Jorge De Crescenta, Esquire. I present this recommendation to the board for your consideration.
Thank you, Eugene. Board members, are there any questions or need for discussion? Okay, hearing none, may I please have a motion to accept the recommendations of the board panels as stated by the Office of General Counsel?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Frederick Orsley, and I make a motion to approve the recommendations of the licensing application by General Counsel Office.
Thank you, Board Member Osley. Is there a second?
Board Member Stephen Crane, second the motion.
Thank you, Board Member Crane. Is there any opposition to the motion? Okay, hearing none. Board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Hearing no opposition, I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Thank you. Agenda item 4, legal appeals. Heather McMaster of the Office of General Counsel will now present the recommendations concerning decisions by the Appellate Division.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, with respect to items 4B through 4E, it is the Office of General Counsel's recommendation to adopt the decisions of the court as the decisions of the board. And with respect to item 4A, matter of Alistair Kennedy versus Third Tracks and Contractors, it is the recommendation that the board authorize the Office of General Counsel to contact the Office of the Attorney General and request that they move on behalf of the board for reconsideration and/or leave to appeal to the Court of Appeals.
Thank you, Heather. May I please have a motion to accept the recommendations of the Office of General Counsel?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board Member Frederick Osley, I make a motion to accept the recommendations of the General Counsel's Office.
Thank you, Board Member Osley. Is there a second?
Board Member Stephen Crane, second the motion.
Thank you, Board Member Crane. Is there any opposition to the motion? Okay, board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Thank you. Agenda item 5, mandatory full board review. We have case 5A, PC Richard and Son Incorporated, case number G2508182. Now, is there a motion with respect to 5A on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Arelis Tavares. I move that the board panel's unanimous decision as modified to direct a deposit into the aggregate trust fund be adopted as the opinion of the full board.
Thank you, Board Member Tavares. Is there a second?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Mark Stasko, and I second that motion.
Thank you, Board Member Stasko. Are there any recusals from this matter? Okay, hearing none. Is there any opposition to the motion? All right, hearing none. Board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? All right, I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Thank you, board members. Agenda item 6, discretionary full board review. I now turn this portion of the agenda over to Vice Chair Foster.
Thank you. For the cases listed in item 6 on your agenda, it has been recommended that full board review be granted, and those cases are 6A, matter of Superior Acoustics, Inc., 6B, matter of FOJP Service Corporation, 6C, matter of New York State Docks, and 6D, matter of Moog Incorporated. I move to refer the cases back to the respective panels for further consideration.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Board Member Stephen Crane, second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any recusals from any of these? All right, hearing none. Is there any opposition to the motion? Hearing none. Board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? All right, board members, hearing no opposition, all in favor, please say, sorry, I am also a yes. That motion is passed. Clearly need a second cup of coffee already, right? Now, on to other business. Today, I'd like to actually present to the board members and to the public a brief update on the board's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Thank you. So you tell me when we're good to go. All right, perfect. Well, hello again, everyone. So as you know, I am the chair of the board, and I am so pleased to share with you our agency's recent work in this area that is critically important to the board's leadership, to all staff, to our stakeholders, and also very important to me personally. And that is the diversity, equity, and inclusion work being done at the board. Now, over the last year, and especially over the last 9 months, the board has taken significant steps in building a DEI program and setting a plan for the future. In this brief update, you'll hear the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, how we've taken action at the board, our work with our DEI consultant, the changes that we've made, both big and small, and how to get involved and stay informed. So we start with the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Why even focus on DEI? Well, first, let's do some level setting. We'll start with some general definitions. Now, according to the dictionary, diversity is the practice of quality of including and involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientations, etc. Inclusion, on the other hand, is the practice of or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical or intellectual disabilities and members of other minority groups. Now, New York State has definitions that are helpful to state agencies. Diversity refers to a group of individuals with unique characteristics whose combined contributions support agencies in meeting and exceeding their organizational goals. And for us, inclusion is a process that cultivates an environment that values collaboration, flexibility, and equity. Inclusive behaviors leverage diversity throughout the organization to encourage all individuals to contribute to their full potential. Now, put another way, diversity invites others to the party, but inclusion asks them to dance. Next. All right. And then there's the concept of equity, which is not the same thing as equality. Now, you have this graphic here before you. And as you can see, with equality, the assumption is that everyone benefits from the same supports. This is equal treatment. In the graphic, everyone here has the same crate to stand on and the ability to pick apples, as you can see. Now, with equity, everyone gets the supports they need. This is the concept of affirmative action, thus producing equity. In the graphic, as you can see, everyone can now finally reach the apples. That's powerful stuff, right? Okay. Now, in this second slide, these graphics are similar, but this one addresses the perceived injustice itself. So first, here you have 3 people watching a game, and it's free for all to watch, right? This is equality. However, one can't see at all. On the far left, as you can see, one can't see at all. One does see okay, and the tallest on the far left here, well, he can see a lot farther than the rest, can't he? That's quite the advantage. I mean, we all want that. But second, in the second graphic here that says equity, we've evened things out a bit. Again, that's equity. Everyone gets the supports that they need. Now, the third graphic shows what justice can look like. Here, all 3 can see the game without supports or accommodations because the causes of the inequity in this graphic was that wooden wall, that wooden fence. That cause has finally been addressed. The systemic barrier has been removed. Something to think about, right? When you look at all three in comparison. And something interesting to note is that some studies actually suggest that while our brains may not be hardwired to care about diversity, we're tribal creatures and familiarity breeds confidence, right? We tend to gravitate towards our own. However, we are hardwired to care about equity, fairness, and justice, which is why I chose to show you this graphic here. Okay, next slide, please. So to return to the question that I first posed, why is this all even important? Now, the research is clear that a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace is incredibly important for several reasons, and here are just a few. First is the increased likelihood of innovation. Now, the best way to stifle innovation is to make sure that everyone is thinking in the exact same way. A diverse workforce creates creativity and fosters creativity and innovation through differing opinions and perspectives. When employees come from diverse backgrounds, they think differently. They have different lived experiences, after all. And this makes it easier to problem solve, formulate plans, and innovate. Secondly, according to LinkedIn, Gen Z and millennials say the number one reason that they leave their job is if they don't have the opportunity to learn and grow. Luckily, diverse teams result in exposure to different skill sets, different ideas, and knowledge sharing. For a business, diversity is an unintended tool to educate and train employees. And workers that are constantly learning and growing are more engaged and satisfied with their jobs. That leads us to the third benefit of higher performance. Related to this research shows employees who are more satisfied and engaged at work are more productive overall. Some companies that are diverse also see higher levels of productivity. McKinsey reports that more diverse companies have a 35% increase in performance over companies relying on employees who are more of a culture fit. Next, DEI has important implications for hiring and retaining employees. The number of workers who care about and understand the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion is increasing. According to Glassdoor, 76% of job seekers feel a diverse workforce is an important factor when evaluating companies and job offers. And 32% of workers wouldn't apply for a job company with a lack of diversity. Generation Z and millennials also value DEI more than Generation X and boomers because they're more diverse themselves. 48% of Generation Z is non-white, leading them to be the most diverse generation in American history. So if you want to win with this generation, you have to know how to recruit for diversity and showcase your progress made towards DEI. And lastly, the fifth benefit. Diversity enables you to better relate to stakeholders. And when you can relate to your stakeholders, you can better create solutions and services that resonates with them. After all, if you come from those communities, you're more likely to understand them. So the more diverse your workforce, the more likely your stakeholders' voices will be represented. Now here at the board, we believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion is critical to our mission by creating a culture where people come together to innovate and resolve issues affecting the residents of New York State. We strive to recruit and cultivate an employee base whose demographic makeup reflects the many unique faces, voices, and backgrounds of the diverse public that we serve. We see DEI as crucial elements in the pursuit of helping workers access critical benefits. So how do we take action to create a more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive board? Well, early on, the executive leadership team agreed it would be important to engage staff at all levels. One of the very first things that we did was form a DEI council comprising staff from different locations, units, job titles, ethnicities, genders, religions, and backgrounds to help guide our efforts and give us input from a representative sample of the board's staff. We purposely excluded senior leadership on the board's DEI council to ensure that staff wouldn't feel intimidated when sharing their ideas or discussing their current experiences at the board. Since its formation in June, the council has met every month to discuss issues and brainstorm ideas related to DEI. One of their first priorities was developing a set of goals that they're shared with agency leadership. They've also met with HR to learn more about and discuss our recruitment process. They've come up with some great recommendations for DEI staff training, some of which we have already implemented, and they've provided important input for the board's 5-year DEI plan, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. And they're currently developing some recommendations on how we can implement that plan. We also hired a DEI consultant, a firm that has worked with several other New York State agencies to help guide and focus our DEI efforts. This consultant has led several specialized leadership trainings and discussions, which they call the Learn, Live, and Lead series. And actually, one of our fellow board members, Lauren Lobin, has actually sat in on these hearings as well. Now, they have also shared best practices and provided input on our ideas and plans. And importantly, they helped us understand our DEI baseline and priorities by helping us conduct an all-staff DEI assessment. And the images that you see there are from the Purpose and Process of Anti-Racism workshop that we'll also be making available to all staff pretty soon. Okay, next. So our goal with the assessment was to get a baseline of our DEI strengths as well as our opportunities for growth and improvement. And indeed, we got some valuable, insightful feedback. First, over 40% of board staff completed the survey, which was made anonymous, which told us something very important from the get-go. It told us the staff really do care about the board's commitment to DEI. Most respondents said that they would recommend the board to friends as an equitable and inclusive workplace. Most respondents feel positively regarding the diversity of our staff in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, race, and tenure. But of course, there is always room for growth and improvement. We learned that the board can do more to encourage staff to voice their opinions about how to make the board a better place to work, involve staff in decisions that directly affect them, ensure equity and or the perception of equity in career advancement, and ensure fairness in the application of board rules to create a more inclusive work environment and a greater sense of belonging. The board shared this feedback with staff along with a commitment to continuing work to make the board a place where all staff feel seen, supported, and valued as their authentic selves. So what's next? As we continue our efforts to make the board more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive, we're making changes both big and small. Now, we've started with lots of small changes, recognizing that lots of small changes added together can make a big difference. As one example, ahead of a recent all-staff meeting, the board solicited questions and topics that staff wanted to see addressed, and these were incorporated into the session. Other small changes have included enabling staff to attend DEI lunch and learn sessions without having to charge accruals, having DEI become a topic in every leadership meeting, putting more DEI-related content on the intranet and in our monthly newsletter. For example, we recently ran an article to educate staff on the use of preferred pronouns. And coming soon, we'll be launching a new internal video interview series called Conversations, in which I'll be interviewing leaders from across the board so staff can get to know them and their units a little bit more. The goal is not only to increase transparency, but also open the door for more collaboration and more collegiality across all of our teams. Now for some big changes. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the board recently developed a 5-year plan to help guide our efforts in creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture for all staff and stakeholders alike. We presented this plan to the New York State Office of Diversity and Inclusion Management, or ODIM, which is part of the Department of Civil Service. This plan will build on our strengths and focus on areas for improvement, addressing a range of employee touchpoints, including recruiting and hiring, career advancement and development opportunities, retention, culture, and so much more. The strategic plan developed with the feedback from last summer's all-staff anonymous DEI assessment survey and input from the executive team, the board's DEI council, and our outside consultant outlines the board's goals and priorities for fostering DEI in the workplace, especially helping employees feel welcomed and motivated to perform at their highest potential, ensuring that members of the public feel valued and equipped to confidently navigate the board systems. And additionally, the board is making an investment and commitment to DEI by hiring our first full-time role that will be dedicated to DEI issues. We recently posted and began interviews for a full-time equal opportunity specialist, and we finally made a decision. We're very excited to have a dedicated resource in-house who will help us push forward our plans. We're also working more collaboratively with other agencies to co-sponsor events and share resources. We can all learn so much more from one another. And finally, we'll be continuing efforts to find new opportunities to train staff on a range of DEI-related topics, as well as solicit feedback and take action where it's needed. More than ever, with respect to DEI, we are learning, we are listening, and we are working together to build a better board. Thank you all for listening today. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the board's DEI efforts and sharing your ideas and insights, you can contact the board's DEI unit and council by writing to dei@wcb.ny.gov, which you also see on your screen. And if you have specific outreach or event ideas or have a WC training request, you can write to outreach@wcb.ny.gov. Thank you all very much, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Lastly, may I please have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Board Member Frederick Orsley. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Board Member Osley. May I please have a second?
Board Member Stephen Crane, second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? Okay, hearing none. Board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? I am also a yes, that motion is passed. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.